I was truly not wanting to make this video, or really never thought I would ever have to, for the reason I'm about to get into, but here we are.
If you're not with me, then you're my enemy.
I will do what I must.
Disney Star Wars is consistently hitting a new low. Hey guys, I'm the Great Jedi and welcome back to the channel. Now, today's video is just an update regarding the channel's change in schedule with watch parties, as well as the reason why, because I'm going to change it up a bit. Now, some of you OGs may remember me making this video over 2 years ago, but for those who haven't seen it, which will most likely be most of you, or even if you have seen it, you may have forgot what it was all about. And that video just basically talks about the ultimate Star Wars watch party plan that includes basically all Star Wars cinematic stuff where all of us can watch it together here on the channel using the live streams. And we've been at it doing watch parties ever since that video, and they have honestly just been a blast and a lot of fun. And I hope that if you happen to join any one of them, you enjoyed it as much as I have. Although, after watching last week's watch party stuff, that being the new episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, which was Episode 3, Chapter 19, The Convert, and the new Bad Batch episode of Season 2, which was Episode 13, Pabu, I did something I've never done in a watch party before, and that was actually getting so frustrated, I turned off the show and stream.
Someone you want to cross. Do you have a plan?
Sid's friend needs to leave.
Looking at it.
She's now trying to ruin the rest of the direction of the show.
You all are coming with me.
Yeah,
Get to
so,
these
look,
coordinates.
now you're all going with me. Look how she's just taking control, dude, of the situation and moving the storyline. And they're just sitting back. Please, Sid's friend! Please, Sid's friend! Yes! Let's follow! I'm turning it off. I'm done. Screw this, man. I am so over it. Not interested. And after this, I had a lot of different thoughts regarding how to handle this. And I waited to make this video to make sure this is really how I thought of it and felt, and it wasn't just an in-the-moment thing. And now that you're seeing this video, it wasn't an in-the-moment thing, and I feel the same way I did when I stopped it. And it sadly just comes down to Disney Star Wars being lazy. And some of you guys are probably thinking, Gray, how could you say that Disney Star Wars is lazy? The music and animation is so good. They spend so much time on this show for our entertainment. Well, let me briefly explain it like this. And I'm not going to be getting really in depth here because that can be for a future video when we're actually on this topic. But I'll give you the main idea of what I'm thinking, and hopefully you guys can understand where I'm coming from. And if you guys do understand, please leave a comment letting me know. And if you don't, then also let me know so I can make these videos clearer in the future. And while you're down in the comment section after watching this video, also let me know if you agree or not, if you do understand what I'm saying. But anyways, let me explain. There is like 3 checkboxes that set the bar, or rather keep the bar in its place where it was before Disney bought Star Wars. Those 3 boxes included morality, lore, and story. Morality meaning I wanted to be able to watch the movie or show without them crossing the line morally. Well, it's no secret that Disney has crossed several lines morally, and they seem absolutely on board and okay with that. But I mean in terms of them showing something on screen that's wrong. Like, I don't want to sit there and watch something morally wrong, which, if I'm being honest, the way Disney has been going lately in their past actions, I always thought that this checkbox reason was going to be the final straw for me to stop watching Disney Star Wars, given that they've already crossed that moral line in the books and comics, and they show no sign of stopping. And I already know that they are going to cross that morality line in the shows and or movies, you know, and show those wrong things. It's just a matter of time, the when. And that's why I said I always thought that this was going to be the reason why I stopped watching the new Disney Star Wars content. Then for the second checkbox, lore, it's exactly how it sounds. It's just about them keeping the lore, not contradicting themselves while adding to it in a good way. Very simple if the people know Star Wars. But of course, they couldn't keep the lore. Right out of the gate, pretty much since the sequel trilogy, and some could even argue when Disney even bought Star Wars and started making a lot of changes in 2012, they broke lore constantly and consistently. And it's like I said, I won't be getting into details here, that's not what this video is for, but it's not a secret that they've really messed up the Star Wars lore. So there goes that checkbox. But even with that checkbox missing, I'm able to say, hey, this was actually an entertaining movie. Like, it had a good story as a movie. It sucked as a part of the Star Wars universe and as a Star Wars movie, which is what it was and that's why it sucked. But apart from the Star Wars universe, and if I take that Star Wars name out of it, it wasn't bad. Like, I could say that with a lot of Disney Star Wars cinematic content from the movies to the shows. Until lately. Which brings us to our third and final checkbox, the one that broke the camel's back, as some would say, the story, which is also exactly how it sounds. This checkbox is in terms of making a good, entertaining story, whether it's in a movie or a show. But they haven't been delivering good stories, like consistently. And I'm not saying every episode has to be perfect, but I do feel like that it should have some depth in the story in some way or another. And they have had none. On not just some episodes, but even the majority sometimes. For a quick example, let's use the Bad Batch. Starting out, it seemed to be pretty good. The first episode, it gave us that backstory of what was going on with them during Order 66. And then for the finale, we had the destruction of Kamino, which all aligned with the good main quest story. But if you take a look at Season 2, after that Season 1 finale in mind, we can see that only Episode 7 and Episode 8 have anything to do with that main story. And Episode 7 didn't even have the Bad Batch in it. Like, seriously, you cannot watch anything in Season 2 up to this point and just watch those 2 episodes, and you'll be caught up not missing anything, which just goes to prove my point. And I know what some of you guys are thinking. Gray, the other episodes add character development and world building. Not every episode has to be action-packed. There can be filler. Well, I absolutely agree that there can be character development and world building, and that there can be a certain degree of filler, and that not every episode has to be action-packed. You know, but there is a difference between good filler and bad filler. And the most of what we've been getting is bad filler. Let me explain. Episodes 3, 12, and maybe 6 and 11 by a bit of a stretch, because those 2 are heavily inspired by what George did in the Clone Wars. But those 4 episodes are what I'd consider good filler, where it's not directly related to the main story, but there are still good story elements to it that still give the main story a little bit more depth and does progress it a little bit in the right direction while having character development and world building. And it was entertaining. That is what I consider good filler, but the entire show also shouldn't be filled with that. Bad filler, on the other hand, is basically what all the other episodes are, at least up to episode 13 at the moment, which is more than half of the episodes we've gotten so far. And I say that's bad filler because there's no good story to it. It has no depth and no correlation to what the show is about. And it's all the same thing every time. They did this a lot in Season 1 as well. Doing Sid missions. This should really just be called The Sid Show. And not only that, I would say that even in those episodes, they don't give good elements of world building or even character development for that matter. It's all the same thing. We don't really learn more about the characters than we would have otherwise with a good filler episode or a main story episode. We'd get even more in that case. In fact, I would just say that these bad filler episodes makes it worse for the characters because it makes them seem stupid once you consider in all the facts from Season 1, which explained why they were even talking to Sid in the first place, to now where they're just doing jobs to keep Sid quiet. I mean, they're smarter than that, especially Tech. The writers are just giving them any out-of-character dialogue to keep the Sid missions going. And they're just a non-entertaining, boring waste. And what really set me off in the watch party was obviously this build-up happening to this, right? But it was really seeing the Bad Batch finally being done with Sid, which really should have happened way before the last 4 episodes of the season, especially since this has been going on since Season 1. And the fact that they gave the same logical reason to leaving Sid as what we would have suspected they thought back in season 1 on the first couple jobs. But that's not even the kicker. What really got me is that the writers just had the Bad Batch transition from Sid to Sid's friend. I mean, genius, right? Who would have thought of that one? Real creative. They had Sid's friend just literally tell the Bad Batch what to do, and they listen without question. It just makes the Bad Batch seem so out of character and stupid, and they're not. They're not like that. And for The Mandalorian, right? Let's take a look at this. There's only 8 episodes per season, and we've gotten 3 so far, which means that we're almost halfway done with season 3. And all they've done in terms of the main story is have Mando take a bath. That's it. That, and they tried to spend this whole 3rd episode trying to relate it more to cloning in the sequel trilogy, which has nothing to do with the show The Mandalorian. It's ridiculous. Like, if you seriously just think about this for a second and thought about where we were at story-wise with The Mandalorian going into season 3, you'll notice that Din Djarin had to take a bath. We already knew that, right? After episode 1, it's the same thing. No progression. Then in episode 2, he finally does that. And then in episode 3, they spend time on things that has nothing to do with the show. Anyways, I can go on with more details in both The Mandalorian, Bad Batch, and even into other shows, but hopefully you guys can start to see my point. And if not, my overall point here is that all Disney Star Wars really needed to do to keep the bar there before they bought it was to keep those 3 checkboxes: morality, lore, and story. And they have officially been consistently making content that doesn't check off any of those 3 boxes, which is just unbelievably sad and lazy because they had access to a lot of material to help out the lore and the story. The ball was already rolling, and all Disney Star Wars had to do was keep it rolling. It's that simple. I mean, all they had to do was keep feeding that award-winning, money-making cow. They didn't have to start an entire universe from scratch. But no, that's not what they did. They started off making stories that broke lore, so that's one checkmark down the drain. And now they're making stuff that has no depth to their storytelling. It's just bad. And when they do that, it's not really interesting. It feels as if they're prolonging it just because they can. And don't even get me started on the potential of what Star Wars could be. But in terms of the cinematic stuff though, it seems that over the past decade, Disney Star Wars has tried lowering that expectation bar since the lore checkbox was hardly ever checked off. So it was a norm. All we had to expect was a good story, because let's be real, lots of people will look past the wrong stuff that crosses the moral line in the first checkbox, so they don't really have to worry about that one for the most part, which just leaves that last one, the story. And they don't even have that now a lot of the time. It's just frustrating. Overall, this is just all to say why I'm stopping the watch parties on the channel for now. This doesn't mean we're never going to do the watch parties again and that this is a permanent change, because that's not what I'm saying at all. I have no doubt I'm going to continue them sometime in the future, but as of right now, what I'm saying is that because they're not hitting that story checkbox where it's entertaining, it's not really a priority for me. And really, why should it be? I mean, the story isn't a priority for Disney Star Wars, you know? It's not something I want to sit down on the day of release and just watch, especially when I have a lot of other things to do. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it either. That just means I'm going to do it on my time when I want. And we'll just see where it takes us in terms of watch parties, because right now I'm just not interested. You know, I'm still down to discuss what I've watched with you guys in my videos and streams, but for watch parties, I'm going to put a pause on it for now. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. There's actually so much more I want to say about this topic regarding Disney Star Wars, like a way more in-depth one, but this video is just an update to let you guys know why I'm taking a break from watch parties, so that way you're not surprised. And I don't want to turn this into an hour-long rant video. That's for another time. I've already went on and on already more than what I was planning to in this video, and I appreciate you guys having the patience to listen to me. Greatly appreciate it. And I have no doubt that the watch parties will return one day, but as of right now, I'm just not interested. And since I have so much to say on this, like I said, there's probably going to be a more in-depth part 2 video that will most likely cover all that, but that will be a part of a new series that you guys don't know about yet and will be introduced when my Kenobi video releases, which, if I don't change my scheduling around, should be in May. So I hope you guys enjoy that video and hopefully the series once that releases. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video and love Star Wars content, please consider subscribing and liking the video. Only if you enjoyed, of course. It's completely free. And if you didn't like it, that's cool too. Feel free to give the video a dislike and leave any constructive criticism in the comments for me on how to make this content better. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and may the Force be with you always.
No.